What's up, guys? Welcome back to Latin Chopsticks. So, as you remember last week, when we were eating at the pizza place, we had a gentleman come up to us off camera and kind of talk to us for a bit. And he did recommend us two different places, which is, I think, the places that we're going to be going to this week and next week. This week, we're going to be going to a Japanese restaurant that he told us about that I personally didn't even know existed. So it's going to be quite interesting because I've never been here before and I've never even heard of it before. I did look it up online. It looks like it's a place that normally opens at 5:30 in the afternoon up until 10 p.m. or midnight or something like that, depending on the day of the week. So it's basically a place that's focused on dinner. So my wife and I, we're going to be heading over there today. We're going to go ahead and check it out. I don't know what we're going to order yet, but I know that they sell supposedly really good ramen bowls and they have a whole bunch of different Japanese cuisines because it's a very authentic Japanese restaurant. So we're going to go ahead and check it out, see how this place is, and let's get going. Alright guys, we made it to the restaurant finally. This place is one of the most similar to actual Japanese restaurants that my wife and I went to in Japan. It is the decorations, everything in this place just screams Japan. The way the colors are set up with all the wood, and it's a really nice place so far. So I really like the atmosphere. We were looking over the menu and my wife and I found a few different dishes that we're going to want to head and try. So of course she saw Tonkotsu Ramen, so she immediately got it. But then we noticed that they also sell Yakitori, which is actual like chicken on a stick basically, here in the restaurant, and it's something that we haven't had since we were in Japan. Not only that, but they sell kushiyaki, which is the same thing, but it's usually pork on a stick of some sort, or steak. So we ordered, I believe, we ordered momo, which is chicken meatball. We ordered nejima, which is, I believe, chicken breast on a stick with scallions. We went ahead and we ordered short ribs, and we ordered pork belly, and I think we ordered skirt steak as well to get like a different feel of different types of meats and food and see how it compares, because we haven't had any of these since we went to Japan itself. And then my wife, she ended up getting the original Tonkotsu Ramen, which is really popular. It's a very main ramen dish, and we're gonna go ahead and pretty much pit it against all the other places that we've been to so far and see if it's better or if it's just as high up there as all the other ones. So far I'm getting really good vibes from this place just because of the authenticity of the decorations, the restaurants, and even the employees that work here. It's absolutely interesting to see all these different things, and it really brings back memories of when we were actually in Japan having some authentic dishes. So yeah, we'll go ahead and see you guys then. All right guys, we got the first dish, and it's all the different yakitori and kushiyakis that we ordered. This looks delicious. It's 4 different dishes, 4 different types of meats. You guys have to check this out. We have 5 different, meats here. So we have the braised pork belly on a stick. We have here, I believe there was the nejima, which is the chicken breast with the scallions. Here you have the skirt steak. Here you have the short ribs. And then here you have this kune, which is basically a chicken meatball covered with okiyami sauce, I think is what he said. But basically it's a sauce that's very similar to teriyaki. The smell that's coming off of this with the charcoal that they're using and the wood that they're using, because they're using giant yakitori grills in the back of the restaurant that I was able to see. And they served a lemon on the side, so we're gonna go ahead and maybe squirt a little bit of lemon to give that grill flavor just that much more flavor. So we're gonna go ahead and dig in. I'm gonna go ahead and start with the chicken meatball first, and I wanna see how this is, because I wanna see how that sauce is, so. It's really soft in texture. I thought I was gonna have a little bit of a bite. It really doesn't. As soon as I bit into it, it completely fell apart. That sauce that they put on it, it's less sweet than teriyaki sauce, but it's really good. It's just kind of salty, and it adds a little bit of umami to basically the chicken. But if you guys take a look at it, the chicken is cooked perfectly despite it being a giant ball. So if you see here, the chicken is cooked to perfection. Absolutely no pink on the inside. It's nice and it's juicy, if you guys can see. So it's really moist and juicy. It's covered in the sauce, and it's a pretty big chunk of chicken. So I'm surprised that it's cooked all the way through. But the taste is phenomenal. It is really, really good. And it seems like on the inside they put scallions and different types of seasonings in it to add texture. But not only that, to add like a little bit of depth and flavor. It was done really well. And I thought that was gonna be like the most plain one, and it tasted so good. Now I'm curious to see what everything else here tastes like. There's something else that we ordered. Oh, thank you very much.
Thank you.
So we ordered something else actually, because I saw it on the menu and I just forgot. There was so many different things we wanted to order, but one of the things that I ordered was tori senbei. Tori senbei is hand-pounded chicken thighs. They pound them almost as thin as potato chips, and they serve it with like a guacamole and like scallion sauce that just is out of this world. That was amazing. It almost felt like fried pork rinds, but it's chicken. But the interesting thing is it tastes and feels like chicken skin, but it's actual chicken thighs, which is really impressive because it just melts as soon as it hits your tongue. It's an immediate crunch, and I got burnt, so because it just came out. So it's an immediate crunch, and then it just dissolves, almost like my wife said last week, cotton candy. It is amazing though, because I've never had something as, this is really unique. I've actually never had this before, not even in Japan. I didn't even know this was like a thing. But they're so flat, look at it. They're just so like skinny. It's crazy. Like I'm wondering how they were able to get something so thin on this. Like it's almost like a potato chip, literally. Or like chicken skin, I guess. And then you have that guacamole sauce with covered in scallions. Oh my God. I can already tell it's gonna be amazing. All right, the next thing we're gonna try, I believe these are the short ribs. I was kind of scared because I thought they might be well done, but I don't think they are because I can see a little bit of the sauce and a little bit of that, I forgot the name, but the protein, the breakdown of the protein, I still see it. So I'm really curious how this is gonna taste and how the texture is gonna be. But you could see the charred pieces, not burnt, it's just slightly charred. You can see that this is juicy, it is just dripping right now. You can tell that's going to be flavorful. You can see the fatty pieces just nice and thick, but then you can see the meat itself is going to be nice, thick pieces. It's going to be like the perfect balance of fat, which is flavor, with the tenderness of that meat. Oh my goodness. I hope these short ribs end up being as good as they look, man. Oh my God, really tender, really freaking good. There's a lot of fattiness in it mixed within, so it just adds that much different layers of flavor because it's like you get the tenderness and the saltiness and the seasoning on the outside of the meat. You get the charred flavor from the fire, and then you get that fattiness to kind of coat it over, and it's perfect. Now this one here is definitely cooked, I would say medium raw, because it is pretty close to being raw. But on the outside it has a nice browning, and on the inside it's still very nice and not even pink, I would even say red, but trust me, it's still really freaking good. The next thing is the skirt steak. Now, my only concern with the skirt steak is the fact that it's very thin, and meat like this is really easy to dry out. However, you can see that it's glistening with the fattiness from the grill, so maybe it won't be, but that is my concern, that it might be a little bit tough because of the way it was cooked. And we have a piece of scallion on the top. It's nice and charred. It'll add a little bit of layer to it as well. But let's go ahead and try it out real quick. Boy, was I wrong. That is just falling apart. Oh my goodness gracious. It just completely just kind of tears apart. Super simple. I don't know if you guys can see it on there, but you just slightly pull, and it's already, you can see like all the grains and things like that of it coming apart. Almost like an accordion. You have an accordion of meat on a stick where you just pull it and it just slowly starts ripping. You see all the little textures, all the little grains. Oh my goodness. All right, so now we're gonna go with this one. This is the chicken wrapped around scallion, which is basically green onion. I'm really curious because it's chicken breast. I thought it was gonna be dry, but it's actually dripping right now. So if you look at this, look at that. Oh my goodness. It's nice. Look at the brown and the char from the actual yakisoba. Man, it just, that alone is adding so much flavor to this. It is literally carrying everything. So let's go ahead and try this out. Oh my God. I'm gonna have to come back here to Susuru with my wife again. That chicken is so good. It's so perfectly cooked and tender. The chicken breast itself is very thin, but then the inside, where the green onion was, it's like filled with the chicken juices. So when you bite it down, you get that dryness right in the beginning with the saltiness and the char, but then as soon as you finish biting down into it and you bite into that green onion, it just explodes in your mouth, and you have like all this juices and flavor from the chicken itself and sweating it, and the green onion absorbing it. Oh man, it gets really, really well together. And now the last one, this is the one that I'm gonna put some lime in. It's the pork belly. And we'll see how it is, because pork belly normally on its own, it's really good. But in my opinion, when you don't have it charred, because it doesn't look very charred, it can be a little too much, too rich because of the fat. So let's take a look at this pork belly here. So there's a little bit of burnt marks, but really not much. I just poured a little bit of lime over it. I'm gonna go ahead and get a little bite out of it. So it looks like this is just one piece of pork belly, sliced into threes and then kind of put on a stick and then grilled. But look at the fat. Look at that layer of fat, meat, fat, meat, fat. We'll see how good this is. Hopefully it's not tough. Let's go ahead and try a bite. It's really good. It's basically non-salty bacon. The lemon really added a lot because exactly what I said. That bite that I took was a lot of fat because I'm biting from top to down. So I got meat and I got a layer of fat. They were pretty even. I would actually say that the fat was a little thicker than the meat. So most of the flavor that I got was from the fat. It was really good, but I can tell that it would be overwhelming just after. I think one is enough because I think after that the richness is so rich that it would just be overwhelming. All right, and then the last thing we want to try is going to be the Tonkotsu Soup. Now, I might end up getting a ramen soup myself. I wasn't sure because I wasn't too hungry, but after trying all this stuff, I'm actually getting really hungry, so I might get my own soup in a second. And if I do, you know, that'll get added after this because I still don't know yet. I'm going to finish all the other stuff and then see how I feel after that. With that said, here's their tonkotsu. It looks really, really traditional. So it's really, really traditional. I really like the wooden spoon. I haven't seen these wooden spoons too often, so that adds a little bit of layer to that. You have the ramen, you have the green onions, you have that soft boiled egg, you have a large piece of charsu, and then you have the seaweed here, basically the seaweed leaf. You have that broth, and then that broth, if you look, it's that typical, like we always talk about, broth that you could tell that the pork really emulsified with the broth itself. Oh, look, it's still steaming. And this came out like 5 minutes ago. We've been eating and talking and stuff. But yeah, look at that broth. Like, let's go ahead and just get a little bit. We're gonna go ahead and try it out just to see how good that broth is. All right, let's just try a little bit of this broth before my wife kills me. Oh wow, that's really enriching. You can really taste that pork fat in there. Oh my goodness. Wow, I'm really impressed. It's really, really strong in the flavor of the pork fat, but then it just kind of eases its way away and just leaves like a nice porky flavor in your mouth. It's not like overwhelmingly salty. It's not overwhelmingly. This is really good, man. This is really good. And let's go ahead and check out that little piece of charsu there and see how we can see how thick it is, see how cooked it is. We'll go ahead and try a piece out. So that's one thing I'm curious about. It is a little bit soft, but it does look like it's charred. Now it's charred on the top, so they might have used like a torch, but then if you look on the bottom, it's nice and white. There's large pieces of fat here on the outside, and then you have some marbling of fat on the inside and the outside. So we'll see how that is. It might be full of flavor. I mean, I'm a little disappointed because it looks like it's mostly fat, to be completely honest, but we're going to go ahead and try it out and take a bite before we judge fully. It's falling apart just because of how much fat is on it. So this is different than what I'm used to having. It's really flavorful, but it's really rich. I don't want to say fat 5 times like I did in the other video, but there's just too much of it, in my opinion. Like, I think it could have gotten a better piece of pork. There is a lot of flavor, and I feel like maybe if I could push it down towards the broth, maybe we can add that to the broth itself. But I am a little disappointed with the piece of pork. With that said, don't get me wrong, it is really good, but I've had other pieces that I've really liked much more than this one. All right, and then let's try the ramen. As they say, the ramen here is homemade. Let's take a look at it. Ooh. Oh, I like this because they're nice and small, they're thin. So there's an abundance of the ramen. So it's not like the udon noodles or anything like that. So I do like that. I do like that they serve it with a lot of ramen. So if you take a look at this, stringy, which is nice, that's a good sign. Let's go ahead and try this out. So I don't want to eat too much of this because this isn't mine, but I'm gonna have one bite of the ramen and that's it.
Do you guys need anything on the side, like chili or anything spicy for the ramen? No, it's okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Wow, that ramen is great. Oh my God. Wow, it's kind of starchy, like, oh man, it's hard to explain. It's the typical, you have that flavor, that elasticity when you put it in your mouth, and it's still absorbing the flavors from the broth itself. And because the broth is so full of richness, it's seeping into the ramen. But the ramen noodles actually have this starchy taste that kind of adds a little bit of texture when you bite it down. But it goes really freaking well together, man. That is really freaking good. All right, I'm not gonna eat anymore. This is my wife. So far, I'm thinking I'm gonna order my own. But we'll see. But let's go ahead and give this back to her. Right, I'm gonna enjoy a little bit more of this. I'm gonna keep on eating a little bit, as always. And if we end up getting another ramen, I'll let you guys know. So I'm gonna finish this first and then decide what we're gonna do. All right, guys, so of course we have to finish the night with some dessert. So I was gonna get the ramen, but then after we ate everything and I waited like maybe 5 to 10 minutes, I got full, so we decided to maybe not do it so I don't feel overstuffed. With that said though, we did order some nice dessert. And you guys have to check this out because this is beautiful. It really is. So did you guys check this out? This is called their matcha tiramisu. And it's basically layered tiramisu with matcha. And you have here some hot green tea to kind of warm us up because of how apparently sweet and delicious and cold this tiramisu is. They serve it in a nice wooden box. And in the front, they have the name of the restaurant, Susuru, burnt in and etched into the wood itself. You have 2 wooden spoons to really enjoy it and just bring in that depth. And like I said, the hot green teas to finish our nice little dessert. So we're gonna go ahead and try it out. Let's go ahead and grab one of the wooden spoons and we're gonna go ahead and just dig in on a corner here. Ooh, it is hefty. Wow. I'm gonna try to see if we can get, oh, it's hard to do this with hands, so I'm gonna have to just go through the middle, try to get a piece out. All right, guys. Ooh, look, you can see the matcha inside, you can see the regular cake, and you can see the cream. So let's go ahead and try this out. See if this is as good as it looks. Wow, that's really good. It balances really well. It's really good because it's really sweet, the cream, and it's super, super delicious. Really strong in flavor. Then you get the rum at the bottom. But then you get that taste of matcha. My concern with matcha desserts usually is the matcha is really overwhelming and it completely takes over everything else. But it's so subtle on this dessert that it just adds a layer of flavor into the tiramisu itself. And you have that little kind of matcha background on there, but it makes it, it almost transforms it to something other than tiramisu. This is really freaking delicious. I'm really glad we ordered this. Wow, guys, definitely, if you come here, you have to order the tiramisu dessert. The food here was extremely delicious. It was really good. Definitely an amazing experience. I really recommend it because the good thing about this place is it's right outside of the Disney theme parks. So right before you go into Disney Springs, into the Disney area, right outside of it, they have this restaurant. So if it's something at night, late at night when you're getting out of the parks, it's some really, really good food. It has a lot of different variety. It's almost like a Japanese tapas bar, I would say, with ramen bowls. So it's definitely worth coming and checking it out. I'm honestly completely surprised at how good this tiramisu is. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish enjoying this with my wife. Once again, guys, remember, you gotta check it out. Whenever you're in Orlando, just come to Susuru. It is such an amazing place. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Next week, we're going to be trying out a ceviche restaurant, and we'll see how that fares up with all the experiences we've had before. But thank you so much. Thank you for all you guys subscribing. Thank you all you guys for liking the video, and the few people that are commenting. I really appreciate every single one of you. If you guys have any questions or anything like that, if you have any recommendations, just feel free to comment down below. With that said, as I mentioned before, I'm going to go ahead and finish this dessert with my wife. And until then, let's go ahead and keep on eating.